Welcome to the Naperville Moms Network. My name is Dr. Cathy and I'm honored to serve as our show's host alongside of my friends Erica, Sarita, and Patty. Last month we talked social media and moms' nights out. This month we start our show with a topic that is challenging for so many moms, body confidence. I know this topic is really near and dear to my heart personally. I grew up as an athlete, and every single time that my mom would take me to the doctor, they'd put me on the scale, and they'd look at this chart, and they'd take my weight, they'd take my height, and the doctor would always just say, she weighs too much. She really needs to drop about 15 pounds. About 6 months ago, I taped about a 15-minute segment on body confidence and weight, and the way that women are perceived, how we perceive ourselves. And I know that at that time I was put on a really restricted calorie diet. I was doing more exercise than even my gymnastics or swimming or diving. And the fact was I was an athlete. My body was really amazing. It was full muscle. I had no fat on me. But because this chart ratio didn't work out on paper, I was told that I had to lose weight. And it really started a 30-year yo-yo dieting of going up and down and up and down. And I've been times where I've been really, really, really thin and times where I've been extremely overweight and not healthy. And it's amazing to see how much that plays on your self-confidence and who you are as a woman, who you are as a mom, who you are trying to date someone, trying to figure out all those things, you know. And I think it's really important that we continue to have these conversations to make sure that we're not defining who we are by just these numbers on a scale or you know, this BMI chart and things like that.
Right. And that's so, like you mentioned society. I think that society makes us feel that way. You know, when you look through magazines, and I really love all of the brands that have come out now that are having the Real Women campaigns, like Dove, where you're seeing a body that looks like your body, and you're like, oh, so I'm not the only one. Like we have been doing this for years. I mean, I think that you're right, the yo-yoing, the up and down, looking at a number instead of how you feel on the inside. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's true. I mean, I noticed as I've gotten older, when I take on a healthier lifestyle in those moments, it has very little to do with how people see me. It has to do with how I feel inside. I just want to feel better. And it's like, how do you transition, especially for young girls, how do you transition that earlier? Like, I wish I would have learned this lesson years ago. So how do you do that? How do you get your girls thinking and being confident inside so they don't worry so much about what the world thinks of them outside?
I agree.
You know, we talk about body confidence more so with teenagers and younger generation, but I think it's so important for the moms to have that body confidence as well. And the more confident we are, I think then we're teaching on to our kids, you know, how they need to perceive themselves. And I think the bigger part for women is having kids, going through life. Your metabolism slows down over time. And with it, your skin changes, your body size, your body shape. And as we get older, we're emotionally and socially much more confident than we were as teenagers. But when it comes to body confidence, I think as women, it's something we still learn to embrace. And I think the bigger key is just accepting the changes in your body. You're not going to look your 21-year-old self, and, you know, and your body's telling a story. You've been through life, you've had kids, and you know, you've done a lot. So I think it's really important for us as moms to have that confidence in our body, and I think that in itself sets a good example for teenagers.
It's interesting because you said 21-year-old self, and it's funny because when I look at those pictures, I can put myself at that time, and I didn't feel good.
Right, true.
And now, as an almost 40-year-old self, you think, I wish I looked not as good as I thought I looked 20 years ago, because there's never a perfection, right? I mean, even though now I look at that and think, wow, that was pretty darn close. I was working out all the time. You know, I was eating healthy, and look at that size. That was great, but there was something wrong. You know, there's something wrong. There's always something to pick apart. And that is something I'm so conscious of when I get dressed when my daughter's there, because Lord knows I'm not alone when I get dressed. So I'm not, and it's so cute because at 5 and 6, everything looks good. Mommy, why don't you wear this dress today on this random Tuesday? It looks beautiful. And I'm like, everything I try on looks beautiful. And look how pretty. It's all about, bright colors.
Yeah.
And I always stop myself from saying, no, it doesn't look right over here. It's just too tight. And I don't, maybe not that one today. And then you wonder, why am I being so careful with my word choice? It's because I care so much about her. Where was that care for myself?
Right.
In not saying those harmful words.
That's so true, the internal dialogue in your head. And kids, when they're little, you're right. Like, if we could just take how they see us, if we could see ourselves that way.
Yes.
Like, my youngest, when he was really little and he was laying next to me on the couch, and he laid on my arm and he goes, "Oh, your arm is great. It's like a bag of Jell-O." And I go, well, that's not like and you love Jell-O, and I get that makes you very happy, but really, because I felt like I was really working out with my arms and it's still like Jell-O. But then I thought, in his eyes, I am great the way that I am.
Yeah.
And so I need to take that as a great compliment and not automatically think, oh my gosh, clearly I need to start lifting weights more. I mean, because it's just, and I wish we would talk to ourselves a little bit more the way that we shelter our kids. We want to talk to our kids about it.
Right. And I think it's, our self-esteem, self-confidence is so driven by our body confidence. And that's where we give it so much more importance than it really needs to. But like you were saying, we live in such a digital-driven world, and it's hard not to look at pictures of models or actors, but you got to remember, are you looking at the raw picture or all touched up? And I think as a society, we just have really unrealistic expectations of what we need to look like. So, I tell myself, when I look at pictures of some actors who are about my age, it's like, gosh, I don't look anything like that. But then I have to step back and say, well, if you had all 24/7, that's all you worked on was you had dietitians working with you, you were exercising, but the reality is you're living life, other things are a priority. So I think we just need to own however we look, and it tells a story. All our imperfections.
There was a couple of years ago, I was trying to work on my health where I wasn't feeling very well. I was heavier than I am now, and I kind of had an epiphany of, I need to work on this now. Like, if not now, when am I going to do this? And one of the first things I actually started working on wasn't necessarily my weight, it was my mind, and I had woken up one day and I realized, from getting out of bed to 30 minutes later, getting out the door to go to work, I'd said 25 relatively nasty things to myself. Like, oh, you're so fat. Oh, I'd look in the mirror and be like, oh. And the things, I actually counted it one day, and I thought, how awful. Like, I wouldn't say any of that to any of my good friends. I wouldn't say that to my enemies, right? I don't want my kids to say these things about themselves. So I started being really conscious of, if I say a negative thing about myself, I stop myself, right? I almost put up this big mental stop sign. And I've gotten so much better in how I speak to myself and the kindness that I allow myself, and understanding I've had 2 kids. I do have a strong body. I can go work out. I can lift weights. I can do all the things that I need to do. Doesn't mean I don't want to improve on it, but at the same time, just because I'm not a size 0 doesn't make me unworthy. And I am reminded every once in a while that I still do say things. We were about to go out. My boyfriend and I were going to go out and meet some friends, and I said something terrible about myself. And he looked at me. He goes, "Please don't speak about the woman I love that way." And I was like, "Oh, you're so nice."
That's right. You're so good.
You're so nice. One of the best body confidence talks I got was from a tailor. I had to get a dress altered, and I found this woman. I was living in the city, and she got these great reviews, but the reviews were saying how eccentric she was, and it was just an interesting experience. I thought, all right, I'm up for it. Right. So I go and I ring the doorbell, and she's got like 9 cats, and I'm terribly allergic to cats. So right off the bat, I'm like, this is not going well. But she was a very, very large woman. She had to have assistance even standing. She wasn't able to stand while I was there. So at the time, this was years ago, so she was 5 times maybe my size, very large. And I tried on this dress, and she was looking at things, and she said, "Stop." And I said, what? And she said, you've apologized about 12 times since you've been here. And I said, I didn't even realize I was. She said, I'm sorry, I need straps here. I'm sorry, this. And she said, I tell you what, she said, you and I put on that same dress, and we walk into the room, so people are looking at me because I'm more confident than you are. And she goes, and you need to figure that out, sister, because you're, smaller than I am and 20 years younger. And I thought, all right. And I walked out of there and I thought, my goodness, she's right. You're always hunching, you're always apologizing, you're always making all these, comments about yourself. And it truly is. It's the confidence. It's that movie we were talking about that is out, I Feel Pretty or something with Amy Schumer. So.
And it's true, when we go shopping, we look at clothes, and you're trying to fit your body into the clothes as opposed to buying clothes that just embrace your body and you look good and feel good in.
Yep. Well, I love what you said, Sarita, about our body tells a story, because as you get older, that's so true. I mean, look at what your body's accomplished through the years, and it is strong, and it is beautiful, and it does all of these things. And those are the messages that we should, I should start every day with thinking, every wrinkle I have, every gray hair that I have to color, that is, which that's probably the opposite of body confidence, but, whatever that is, there's a story to that. I have lived quite a while on this earth. I won't say how long. And I wish I need to do that more. I'm glad you said that, because I think that's really important, that every line we have, every part of our body is part of who we are and tells a great, great story of our lives.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't take away from the desire to improve upon, and we have to make sure, and I think about that with my daughter too. I mean, you want to instill that confidence. You also want to show that it is important and that you are a work in progress and that there's no end goal, there's no number you're trying to reach, but I think life in general is constantly trying to improve upon yourself. And physically too. I did this, exercise, and let me see if I can push myself more the next time, or
and it goes back to just reinforcing and I have a daughter and 2 sons, reinforcing that the reason I'm doing those things is not because I'm worried about how I look to other people, but because it makes me feel better. And to push myself and to achieve new things is what I'm doing for myself and not others.
Absolutely.
Yep. I actually just got to a point where I threw out my scale. Because I would get on it, right? I'd be like, oh yeah, I lost 2 pounds. I've been working out. I've been eating really well. And then I would go to a place where I was not doing as well, and I get on the next day and I lost another pound. I'm like, oh, I got away with that. All right. And then I'd go back to a week and I'd be eating, really healthy food and working out every day. And I'd jump on that scale expecting it to go down again, and it went up 4 pounds. I'm like, what the heck? I don't deserve that, And I realized that I was giving so much power to this dumb $25 plastic thing on the floor, and it was thwarting my day. It was like I woke up feeling great, like I am on the right path. I am making my body healthy. I'm in a good place, and then I would look at the scale, and it would ruin my day.
Yeah.
So. We certainly can't tackle this issue in just one segment. I would encourage you all to be kind to yourself and to focus on everything your body can do, not just its flaws and imperfections. We'll be right back with more of the Naperville Moms Network. Stay tuned.